My parents evicted me from their basement apartment that I renovated to make room for my sister, so I made sure I got every penny back. Hi everyone! Today's story will blow your mind, but real quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. I'm a 24-year-old guy who never thought I'd be writing one of these posts, but here I am. 3 years ago, when I finished college, my parents offered me their unfinished basement as a place to stay while I got on my feet. It was a win-win. I'd save on rent in our expensive city, and they'd get their musty, spider-infested basement transformed into a livable space. The basement was truly a disaster. Concrete floors, exposed pipes, no proper walls, and it flooded every spring. But I saw potential. I'd worked construction summers during college and had some skills. We made a verbal agreement. I'd invest my own money to renovate it, pay a modest monthly rent, $400, and I could stay as long as I needed while building my savings. I poured everything I had into that renovation. Over $22,000 of my own money went into proper flooring, insulation, drywall, a small bathroom, electrical work, and fixing the water issues. I did most of the labor myself, working nights and weekends for almost 8 months while holding down my day job. By the time I finished, it was a legitimate 700 square feet apartment. Separate entrance, kitchenette, bathroom, bedroom, and living space. My parents were thrilled and even showed it off to their friends. For 2 years, everything was perfect. I paid rent on time, maintained the space, and saved aggressively for my own place. I was on track to have a down payment within another year. Then last weekend, my parents asked me to come upstairs for a family discussion. My sister Emma was there with her husband and their 1-year-old daughter. Emma announced she was pregnant again, and they needed more space than their current 3-bedroom house provided. The solution? My parents had, generously, offered them my apartment. I would need to move out within 30 days. I was stunned. What about all the money and work I put into that space? I asked. My father shrugged. Well, that improved our property, so thank you for that. But we always said it was temporary. Temporary meant until I saved enough for my own place, I argued. I'm not even close to having enough for a down payment yet. My mother cut in, James, your sister has a growing family. They need the space more than a single person does. You can find a roommate situation somewhere. Emma wouldn't even look at me, just bounced her daughter on her knee while her husband nodded along to everything my parents said. When I pointed out they already had a perfectly good house, Emma finally spoke up, we don't want to sell our house in this market. It's an investment. Besides, it's too far from mom and dad for them to help with childcare. I was being kicked out of the home I'd built so my sister wouldn't have to commute from her own house 15 minutes away. I've spent the past few days in shock. I can't afford comparable housing in our area with current rental prices. Moving means giving up the $22,000 investment I made in a space that's no longer mine. I've tried reasoning with my parents, but they're unmoved. Family has to make sacrifices, they keep saying, as if I'm not also family. I don't know what to do. I have 29 days left and nowhere to go. Do I have any legal standing here? Can they just evict me after I've invested so much in the property? Is there any way to recoup my investment, or am I just screwed? I feel betrayed, not just by my parents but by Emma too. She knows what I put into that space, yet she's happy to take it without a second thought. Update, after consulting a lawyer. It's been a week since my last post, and things have escalated quickly. Thank you to everyone who advised me to speak with a lawyer. That turned out to be critical advice. The morning after posting, I called several lawyers who specialize in tenant rights. One agreed to meet with me that afternoon. I brought photos of the basement before and after renovations, receipts for all materials, a timeline of the work, and text messages with my parents discussing the renovations. The lawyer was straightforward, good news and bad news. Bad news first, without a written lease, you're technically a month-to-month tenant, which means they can ask you to leave with proper notice, which in our state is 30 days. I felt my heart sink, but then he continued, the good news is that the significant improvements you made to the property complicate things. This wasn't just hanging some pictures. You fundamentally improved their property value with their knowledge and permission under certain expectations. He explained that I might have a case for what's called unjust enrichment or promissory estoppel, basically arguing that my parents would be unfairly enriched by my improvements if they evicted me before I had reasonably recouped my investment through reduced rent or extended stay. Here's what I suggest, he said. I'll draft a letter outlining your legal position and proposing either 1. You stay for at least another year as originally discussed, or 2. They reimburse you for the improvements minus fair depreciation. I agreed, and he sent the letter by certified mail the next day. The requested reimbursement amount was $17,500, accounting for some depreciation of the improvements over the past 2 years. My parents received the letter yesterday. They showed up at my door last night, furious. "You're suing us?" my father shouted. "After everything we've done for you?" I stayed calm. "I'm not suing anyone. I'm just protecting my investment. You agreed I could stay until I saved enough for my own place. Now you're changing the terms." My mother was crying. "We never thought you'd turn on your own family like this. Emma needs this space for her children." "I'm family too," I replied. "And Emma has a 3-bedroom house." They left angry, and this morning I received a group text from my parents, Emma, and her husband Tyler. Emma wrote, "I can't believe you're being so selfish. Your niece and the baby I'm carrying are your family. You would seriously put money ahead of them having a good place to live." Tyler added, "Man, we thought better of you. Just because you don't have kids doesn't mean your needs come first." I didn't respond. Then my phone started blowing up with texts from extended family. Apparently, my parents and Emma have been telling everyone I'm trying to sue them and leave my pregnant sister homeless, despite her having a house. My lawyer advised me to stop engaging directly and let him handle communications. He said family disputes like this often get emotional, but we need to stay focused on the legal and financial aspects. Meanwhile, I've started looking at apartments, and the rental market is as bad as I feared. Anything halfway decent would cost me at least $1,400 a month, more than triple what I'm paying now. Moving would completely derail my savings plan. I feel sick about this whole situation, but I'm trying to stay strong. My parents and sister are treating me like I'm not even part of the family, just because I won't sacrifice everything for Emma's convenience. The lawyer is confident we can reach a settlement, but the damage to family relationships might be permanent. At this point, I'm not sure I even care. Update 2. The family pressure intensifies. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and the situation has become both better and worse simultaneously. First, the better news. My lawyer received a response from my parents. After the initial emotional reaction, they seem to have consulted their own attorney, who apparently advised them that my claim had merit. They've proposed a settlement of $12,000, significantly less than the $17,500 we requested, but at least they're acknowledging that they owe me something. My lawyer thinks we could push for more, but warned that going to court would cost both time and money. Sometimes, he advised, it's better to take a reasonable amount now than fight for the perfect amount later, especially with family involved. I'm considering the offer, but haven't accepted yet. Now for the worst news. The family pressure has escalated to unbearable levels. Last Sunday, my parents organized a family meeting at their house. I declined to attend on my lawyer's advice, which apparently was the right call. My cousin Michael called me afterward to fill me in. "Dude, it was brutal," he said. "Your dad basically portrayed you as an ungrateful son trying to extort money from them. Your sister was in tears the whole time, cradling her baby and talking about how stressed the situation is for her pregnancy. According to Michael, my Aunt Linda suggested taking up a family collection to help pay me off so Emma could move in sooner. My Uncle Thomas apparently called me another entitled millennial who doesn't understand family sacrifice. Michael was one of the few who spoke up for me. I reminded everyone that you literally built that apartment with your own hands and money, he told me. But honestly, most of them had already made up their minds. The meeting ended with my parents asking family members to reach out and talk sense into me. Sure enough, my phone has been buzzing non-stop with messages from relatives, ranging from gentle encouragement to outright accusations of selfishness. My grandmother, who I've always been close with, called me in tears. "James, I don't understand why you're doing this to your sister. When I was young, family always came first. It took everything in me not to snap back. Instead, I calmly explained my side, including the financial impact and the fact that Emma already has a house. My grandmother listened, but I could tell she wasn't really hearing me. But she's pregnant, dear. Surely you can make a sacrifice for the new baby." The conversation left me feeling hollowed out. It's becoming clear that in my family's eyes, my sister's needs will always trump mine. Even at work, I'm feeling the pressure. My mother apparently called my boss, they know each other through a community organization, to explain that I'm going through a difficult family situation and might need extra support. My boss, thankfully, kept the conversation professional but did ask if everything was okay. I was mortified. The most painful part was a text from Emma. "I thought we were close. I would have done this for you without hesitation if you were the one with a family. I guess I know where I stand now. It hit me hard because we were close, or at least I thought we were. Growing up, I was the protective big brother. I helped her with homework, drove her to school events, and even helped her move into her first apartment. When she got married, I spent weeks making handcrafted decorations for her wedding. When her daughter was born, I was at the hospital within an hour. But it seems like none of that matters now. In her mind, and my parents, my purpose in the family is to sacrifice for her, not to have needs or boundaries of my own. I've started packing up some of my things, just in case. Each box feels like a piece of my family relationship being put away. I've also been viewing apartments, trying to find something, anything, that I can afford without completely draining my savings. My lawyer suggested we push back with a counteroffer of $15,000, which would allow me to cover first month's rent, security deposit, and some moving expenses while still saving a portion of my investment. He sent the counter yesterday. Now we wait. I never thought standing up for myself would cost me my family, but here we are. Update 3. Uncovering the real story. It's been 3 weeks since my last update, and I've discovered the real reason behind this whole mess. It changes everything, and nothing, all at once. First, the settlement. After some back and forth, my parents agreed to pay me $14,500 for the improvements to the basement. It's less than the full amount I invested, but enough to help me relocate without completely derailing my finances. The money was transferred to my account last week, and I signed an agreement releasing them from any further claims. I thought that would be the end of the legal side, allowing me to focus on finding a new place to live. But then came the revelation that blew everything wide open. I was at a local coffee shop when I ran into Kevin, one of my brother-in-law Tyler's friends. He asked how the move was going, and I gave a non-committal answer. Then he said something that stopped me cold. "Yeah, Tyler mentioned you weren't happy about them taking over your place. But man, with the money they're getting from renting out their house, I guess it makes sense for them. Real estate investment is no joke." I nearly spilled my coffee. Wait, they're renting out their house? Kevin's expression changed as he realized he'd said something he shouldn't have. Yeah. I thought you knew. They've been fixing it up for the past month. Tyler was talking about how they could get at least $2,800 a month for it. Everything suddenly clicked into place. My sister and brother-in-law weren't moving into my apartment because they needed more space, or because their house was too far away for childcare. They were moving in to turn their own home into a rental property and increase their income, while displacing me in the process. I thanked Kevin and left immediately, my mind racing. When I got home, I did some digging online and found their house listed on a rental website, described as a charming family home, newly renovated, available next month. The listing even boasted about the excellent school district and the spacious backyard, the very things Emma had complained were inadequate for her growing family. I forwarded the listing to my lawyer, asking if this changed anything about our settlement. He confirmed that since we'd already signed the agreement, the new information didn't affect the legal outcome. But he added, "This does shed light on their true motivations. I'm sorry you were misled by your family." I considered confronting my parents and Emma with what I'd discovered, but ultimately decided against it. The settlement was done, and knowing the truth only confirmed what I already suspected. My needs were secondary to Emma's desires, or in this case, Emma and Tyler's financial aspirations. Instead, I channeled my energy into finding a new place. With the settlement money and my savings, I've secured a small but decent apartment about 20 minutes from my workplace. The rent is higher than what I was paying my parents, but it's manageable with my current salary. I move in next week. My relationship with my family remains strained. Most relatives still believe I'm the villain who tried to block a pregnant woman from having adequate housing for her children. I've stopped trying to correct them. Emma texted me yesterday, "We're starting to pack up to move into the basement. Mom and Dad said you'd be out by Friday. Is that still the plan?" "No, how are you doing?" No acknowledgement of the upheaval in my life. Just checking that I'd be out on schedule so they could move in and start collecting rent on their property. I replied with one word, yes. The hardest part has been accepting that the family I thought I had doesn't exist. My parents will always prioritize Emma. Emma will always expect that preferential treatment. And I'll always be expected to make sacrifices without complaint. But with that acceptance comes a strange sort of freedom. I'm no longer waiting for appreciation that will never come. I'm no longer investing, emotionally or financially, in relationships that don't give back. Next week, I start a new chapter. It's not the one I planned, but maybe it's the one I need. Final update. 6 months later. It's been 6 months since I moved out of my parents' basement, and looking back, it was the best thing that could have happened to me, though not for the reasons anyone expected. First, the practical update. I've been settled in my new apartment for a while now. It's a 1-bedroom in an older building, nothing fancy but clean and functional. The best part is that it's mine, with no family strings attached. I even adopted a dog from the local shelter, something I never could have done in my parents' basement. Having Max around has made the place feel more like home. The settlement money, combined with what I'd already saved, gave me a financial cushion that proved more valuable than I anticipated. More on that shortly. As for my family situation, it's complicated. After I moved out, my parents and Emma sent a few texts asking for help with the basement apartment. Apparently some of the electrical work needed adjusting, and they couldn't figure out how to fix a minor leak in the bathroom. I politely declined, recommending they hire a professional since it was no longer my responsibility. Emma and Tyler moved in as planned and began renting out their house. However, their investment plan hasn't gone as smoothly as they hoped. According to my cousin Michael, who still keeps me in the loop, they've had trouble with tenants. The first family moved out after just 2 months due to what they claimed were undisclosed issues with the property. The house sat vacant for almost a month before they found new renters. Meanwhile, Emma had her baby, a healthy boy, and has been complaining non-stop about how cramped the basement apartment feels with 2 small children. Apparently, the space that was perfectly adequate for me as a single person is suddenly impossibly small for her family of 4, despite being the exact same square footage. My parents have suggested they move upstairs and give Emma and Tyler the entire house, but my father is reluctant to give up their master bedroom. The irony that they're now facing their own space negotiations seems lost on everyone but me. As for our relationship, we've settled into a distant politeness. I visited once to meet my new nephew, but the tension was palpable. My parents acted as if nothing had happened, while Emma seemed almost resentful of my new independence. I've been invited to family gatherings but have attended only a few, keeping my visits brief and conversation light. The most surprising development has been on the professional front. Remember that financial cushion I mentioned? It gave me the security to take a risk I'd been contemplating for months. 2 days after moving into my new apartment, I received a job offer from a company I'd interviewed with weeks earlier. The position offered better pay and advancement opportunities, but required relocation to a city about 3 hours away. In my previous situation, tied to my parents' basement, I would have had to decline. But with the settlement money providing a safety net, I was able to accept. I negotiated a month of remote work to get settled, broke my recently signed lease, paying the penalty for my settlement money, and moved again, this time to a city where I knew no one, starting completely fresh. It was terrifying and exhilarating. The new job has exceeded my expectations. I'm working with a team that values my contributions, and I've already received a small promotion. The city itself has been a revelation, more affordable than my hometown, with a vibrant social scene that's helped me build a new circle of friends. And here's the kicker: the housing market here is significantly more affordable. With the remainder of my settlement money and additional savings from my increased salary, I'm already pre-approved for a mortgage on a small townhouse. I'll be a homeowner before Emma and Tyler can figure out their rental property issues. When I shared this news with my family, the reaction was mixed. My father mumbled something about me always landing on my feet. My mother expressed concern about me being so far away from family. Emma simply changed the subject back to her children. Only my grandmother offered genuine congratulations. She even called separately to apologize for pressuring me during the initial conflict. "I was wrong, James," she admitted. "I didn't understand the whole situation. I'm proud of how you've handled everything." Her words meant more than she could know. The hardest lesson I've learned through all of this is about family dynamics and personal worth. 4 years, I accepted the role assigned to me, the supportive brother, the compliant son, the family member whose needs came last. I believed that sacrificing for family was noble, even when those sacrifices weren't reciprocated. Now I understand that true family support goes both ways. It's not about one person constantly giving while others take. It's about mutual respect, consideration, and fairness. My parents and Emma operated on the assumption that I would always bend to their will because that's what family does. When I finally stood up for myself, they were genuinely shocked, not because what they were asking was unreasonable, they know it was, but because they never expected me to value myself enough to refuse. The greatest irony is that by trying to keep me dependent and nearby, they ultimately pushed me further away, physically and emotionally, than I ever would have gone on my own. As for the basement apartment I renovated, I heard they've had ongoing issues with the plumbing. Apparently, I understood the quirks of that space better than anyone, having built it with my own hands. There's a certain satisfaction in knowing that the apartment, like my place in the family, isn't functioning quite as smoothly without me. Looking ahead, I'm focusing on building my career, expanding my social circle, and creating a home that truly belongs to me. I still answer family calls and send gifts for birthdays and new babies, but I've established boundaries that I maintain without apology. The family member I've become closest to, surprisingly, is Michael. He's planning to visit next month, curious about the city and my new life here. He recently confided that watching my situation unfold gave him the courage to address some inequities in his own relationship with the family. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if my parents had never asked me to leave, if I'd still be in that basement apartment, saving for a down payment while watching my sister receive preferential treatment year after year. Would I have found the courage to leave on my own? Would I have discovered this confidence, this career growth, this new community? I'll never know. But I do know this: being forced out of that basement was ultimately a gift, though not in the way anyone intended. It forced me to advocate for myself, to recognize my worth, and to build a life that reflects my own priorities rather than someone else's. So to anyone facing a similar situation, whether it's family taking advantage of your labor, dismissing your needs, or expecting endless sacrifice, remember that standing up for yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. And sometimes, what feels like the worst moment of your life can actually be the beginning of something better. I built that basement apartment with my own hands, and now I'm building something even more important, a life that's truly mine.